My interest in film goes back a very long time. It really goes back to my childhood. My parents were very progressive, forward-looking people, and uh, they educated me in a very uh, open to everything way. So, for example, I remember that even as a small kid, I was given for a birthday present a Laterna Magica, that's what it was called. And I loved to have those colorful slides that came with it and push them in and out, and they seemed to make things move. And then that was followed by my father returning from one of his trips with a camera, 9.5 millimeter. That was the format then. Nobody knew about 8 millimeter, nor 16 millimeter, nor DVD or whatever. 9.5 millimeter. So I saw him in the movie that he had made, movies that he had made, and that influenced me, of course, no doubt about it. And then this was followed by some general interest in the films that were being shown in Vienna. We had, for example, I remember Alexander's Ragtime Band. I loved that film. I was a little boy, something. So anyway, and out of all that, came my interest in film. And that was also further intensified, let's say, by the existence in Vienna of a cultural center. It was called the Urania. And they had all kinds of events there. And they also had a cinema. And they had a film society there. And I belonged to that film society, even though I was maybe, 10, 12 years old. And every couple of weeks I would see some more interesting films, including, I remember specifically, Night Mail, as an example of the British documentary film movement, a beautiful film, which, I kept on thinking about. So, there's a whole background to my interest in establishing my own film society here in the United States, no doubt about it. And then in Cuba, I would see, in Vienna as well, Vienna and Cuba, I would see all kinds of American films that were being imported, including, I remember, Alexander's Ragtime Band. That was a big success with me, Music and beautiful girls and what have you, very nice. So I guess that's where Cinema 16 came from.
So when you got to New York, how did it happen that you established Cinema 16? This is great, by the way. This is exactly what final few bits that I did.
Cool.
It's beautiful.
Well, that was at the time when I had various jobs, and I had not committed myself to any particular future. And I knew Marsha already. We were going out with each other. We saw a lot of films, and I attended the screenings at the Museum of Modern Art. They were very important to me. Unfortunately, they were all presented at 5:30 in the afternoon, and since, among other things, I worked as a machine shop operator in a factory in New Jersey, then took a bus to New York, it was very difficult to get to a film at 5:30. And I said to Marsha, I remember, wouldn't it be nice if we could show some of these films at times that people like me and others can see them? She said, yes. And so slowly, of course I heard about all kinds of films from magazines or from friends that existed, sounded very interesting, and nobody was showing them. I said, wait, this is a city of, 6, 7 million people. And it seems to me if I'm interested in these films, there must be other people too would be equally interested in them. A couple of the films I saw in school situations, or I saw in some special screenings, I said to myself, you know, and I read magazines about these films, I said to myself, there's a lot of stuff out there, and I think we can pull it together and make something out of it. Well, I convinced Marcia, a couple of our other friends, and I started it.
And okay, maybe that's. Just think.
Yeah, and then I could say, one of the final impulses was, I heard about this strange woman that was supposed to be very good, Maya Deren, and she was going to show her films in this godforsaken little theater in Greenwich Village, a legit theater, a Provincetown Playhouse. And I remember going there with Marcia and being absolutely blown away by her films. I was so excited about them. She was such a wonderful filmmaker, I felt, and these were so-called avant-garde films. I said to Marcia, I think, you know, we better start something on our own. Of course, by that time I had also, from film magazines and reports by film people, I had heard about films all over the country that had been made and were not being seen in New York, and really they sounded very, very interesting to me. Be they scientific, or be they avant-garde, or be they political. Don't forget there was the time of the New Deal, and there was a lot of that in the works too. So I said to myself, hey, listen, I could really try to collect these films, call them in, look at them, decide which ones I liked, make up a program, and how about showing it at the Provincetown Playhouse where Maya Deren showed her films? Sounds like a good idea to me. And in retrospect, it was.
So you had all these brochures and you just looked through them and decided that this, you put these programs?
Well, I had brochures and I had hearsay, right? And I had to dig up an address or make a phone call, get the films to New York, look at them myself. I mean, I never showed a film in the 16 years that I hadn't seen before I showed it. Never. And, you know, only if it passed my whatever, judgment or whatever, would it get into the program. And I finally got to the point where there were more films that were available to me and coming in than I could even handle. People came with their own films to me without even people I never heard of.
Can you just give me one sentence, because I can cut to Jack. Can you just say that at some point you needed extra help and that you hired Jack?
Yeah. Well, also at a certain point, quite early on, I realized that I needed more help. For example, the films were coming in. They had to be prepared for our screening, you know, in the office on our old projector. And then they had to be prepared for public screening. They had to be cleaned and spliced if there was something wrong. Furthermore, I was very happy that the person I chose for that was Jack Goldman, who already had experience like that, and furthermore, who was also able to be a very wonderful collaborator on choosing films, or not choosing them. And he and I, and of course Marcia, my wife, who was a full-time comrade in this enterprise, would look at the films together. We'd say yes, no, maybe, you know, whatever. So it was very democratic and very nice. Oh, here my friends, I always come and look at them and like them. And you know, the interesting thing about them is that they change their position on their own without my doing anything. Sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're not. That's the way it goes.